Today I'm going to share my 5 favorite fiction books of all time. Now, if you're brand new to the channel, normally I focus on nonfiction book summaries and reading lists. So if you're interested in nonfiction books, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. But once again, in this video, we're going to focus on fiction books. I'm going to start out with my top 5, and then later in this video, I'm going to quickly go through a list of some of my favorite fiction book series and favorite fiction authors, just in case you're looking for even more recommendations. Let's dive straight into it. Book number 1 is Daemon by Daniel Suarez. This book is a techno thriller that was first published back in 2006. Now, the title Daemon, spelled D-A-E-M-O-N, is a computer term that refers to, quote, a program that runs continuously in the background, performing operations at predefined times or in response to certain events. So it can be thought of as a very basic form of artificial intelligence. Now, while the book's narrative is built on a foundation of future technology, and even though the book was first published 16 years ago, it holds up remarkably well. Of course, some aspects of the book are going to feel somewhat dated at this point, but in my opinion, this is an absolute must-read. In fact, it's my favorite fiction book of all time. Without ruining the plot, the basic premise is a dying video game designer creates a computer program, or a daemon, designed to upend society by turning the entire world into a giant game, and it's able to recruit human players to do its bidding along the way. Now, this is a fascinating book, but it is one that I do not recommend for young readers or for more sensitive readers, as there are some more mature scenes in the book. So it's really only a book that I highly recommend for more mature audiences. Book number 2, Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is a fast-paced science fiction thriller. Now, the book opens up with a story of Barry Sutton, a New York City cop who's investigating something called false memory syndrome, which causes people to have false memories from lives they didn't actually live. Now, the cause of these false memories is unexpected, and it serves as the foundation for a story that is both entertaining and very thought-provoking. Now, I don't want to dive into the details, the twists and turns, and the different elements of the story, but if you enjoy fast-paced science fiction thrillers, then I highly recommend that you check out Recursion by Blake Crouch. Next up, we have Freedom by Daniel Suarez. This is the must-read sequel to Daemon, the very first book on the list. And while that book was a fascinating read in and of itself, an excellent standalone book, this book adds an unexpected twist that causes the reader to completely reinterpret some of the core ideas from the original. And this is very rare to find in a sequel, where not only does it live up to the original book, but it actually causes you to want to go back to that book and reread it with what you now know, because it really kind of takes the ideas into a whole new light. So if you're interested in artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and other futuristic technologies, then I recommend that you check out both Daemon and Freedom by Daniel Suarez. They present an entertaining vision of how technology might potentially impact our future. Next up, we have The Martian by Andy Weir. This is a science fiction thriller that went mainstream after the story was adapted into a movie with Matt Damon starring as the main character. Now, the basic premise is a man is stuck trying to survive on Mars after his team was forced to evacuate their mission, leaving him behind. Now, I know it's cliche to say this, but this is a situation where the book, in my opinion, is much better than the movie. And I think there are 2 reasons why this tends to be true, especially with stories like this. Number 1, it's much easier for the author to get inside the head of the main character and to reveal what they are thinking, what they are feeling, and different emotions and things like that. Whereas in a movie, well, it's easy to kind of portray the interactions between characters. It's kind of awkward to get inside their heads. You can have a narrator's voice over top of the scene or something like that, but it tends to be kind of awkward. Whereas with a book, the author can really dive deep into explaining what the character is thinking, how they are feeling, and other details like that. Now, number 2, kind of a similar idea, but with the visuals of the story. Now, typically, we think of a movie as being more visually rich, and in many ways it is. But in a book, the author has the freedom to really highlight specific details in a scene. So in a movie, you might see a complete scene, but in a book, the author can direct your attention to specific things, and he or she can use your imagination to create a much more vivid and interesting story. So I think this is one of those situations, especially with this kind of story, where the book is just a significantly better format to really understand what the main character is going through. So whether or not you've seen the movie before, consider picking up a copy of The Martian by Andy Weir. Last but not least is Terminal Rage by A.M. Khalifa. This is a thriller that is less well known compared to some of the other books on this list. It opens with a classic hostage negotiation scene, but has some wild and unexpected twists and turns along the way. In fact, it has a very similar feel to 2 of my all-time favorite movies, including The Game with Michael Douglas and The Usual Suspects. The description of the book actually draws a brief comparison between the villain in this story and Kaiser Soze, the villain in The Usual Suspects. So if you're looking for an entertaining read with interesting twists and turns, pick up a copy of Terminal Rage by A.M. Khalifa. Now, in addition to the books in this list, I've also enjoyed some really great fiction series, including The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which has 3 books by Stieg Larsson, the Mitch Rapp novels, which I believe is up to 20 books now by Vince Flynn and Kyle Mills, the Will Roby series, which is made up of 5 books by David Baldacci, the Terminal List series with 5 books by Jack Carr. Plus, I've enjoyed many great books from author Greg Hurwitz, some of which are part of a series and some of which are just standalone reads. And finally, there are some other really great books out there by authors Daniel Suarez and Blake Crouch. Now, if you have any favorites that you'd like to add into the mix, let me know by posting a comment in response to this video. And once again, if you're interested in non-fiction books, click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future book summaries and reading lists.